Today we're taking a look at an interview that contains a little drama as well as good news about the future of our beloved franchise, Payday. Now, I have always said that I will give Payday 3 a full year in development after release before making a concluding review of the game. It was mostly so that the game can have a fair shot even though it was released below the average standard for any game. However, I think we will get some answers about what went wrong and about what will happen in the future as of this title, and I'm quite excited about it. So the Red Archer does provide hard-hitting, excellent questions during this interview, and Almir has to address some of the controversies that he's found himself in.
Thank you.
Okay, so the main reason that I brought you here, and this is a one thing where I really want to hand the mic to you and just give you a chance to talk over it again, but last week, as you would say, you were there, you made a bit of a statement on your official Payday stream talking about being a true heister and the fact that you should be playing Payday 3 now if you want the game to survive. It's had a lot of feedback, both positive and negative, people who understand you, people who think that it was unfair to say what you've said. I just want to first off hand the mic to you to just kind of reiterate what you said and if there's anything you want to clarify from that statement. So the floor is yours for that first.
Appreciate that, Tori. And I'd like to correct you there, or rather use what you said just now as an example. So I said a specific thing Thursday, right? That has since been interpreted and in different ways. Something I, of course, have to reflect on, because when I say stuff, the Payday community listens. But I didn't say if you want Payday 3 to survive, you have to play it, right? What I said was, if you like what we're cooking, support us.
So basically here, Mr. Listo had stated that if the game were to survive, we need to act. In other words, people who cared and wanted the project to survive needed to act and support Payday 3 now. This caused a lot of ruckus in the community because many people felt as if they wanted to guilt trip people into spending money in Payday 3 to save the game. This hit people in the wrong way since the game dropped half finished and now they want to guilt trip people into playing the game even though they were the ones that took forever to add basic quality of life features such as unready button and a proper XP system that has now recently with the Boys in Blue DLC update fixed it up really well, so as a side note, good on them. In short, he begins to explain what he means by what he said. So he said, if you like what we're cooking, support us, which seems to be a fair enough statement to be honest. I don't find this begging or guilt tripping at all in all fairness. However, he goes on to explain what he means by what he says, and by support he did not necessarily mean economically by spending money on the project, by buying DLC or the game, but rather by partaking in the community as much as a person is willing to do. It could be all from a comment on a video not even related to the team, giving them feedback on Payday 3 on Reddit, whether good or bad, it does not matter, to making a video on YouTube criticizing or giving valid feedback on the process. Now this can of course also mean that you buy the game and start playing it again. I will add that what he said is not as bad as people felt in the moment, and he cleared it up really good, and in all honesty, they should raise Almir's pay, because he's probably the only reason I re-downloaded Payday 3 again. He really cares about the project, and that really reflects on how he talks about the game and so on.
There's not going to be an update at all this July. Now, you've talked a little bit about it with the holiday, but I just like your perspective because you will have people, I kind of feel it myself, the pace has gotten really good with updates. The last couple of months updates have been really good, and that cadence is a very important thing. So even though, I can fully understand that you guys deserve a break if you're working your asses off, there is the cynic in me who thinks, why wasn't something ready for July? What's going on? Can you just talk a little bit about missing that update slot out for July and impacting the future of the game?
I think it's unfortunate that we don't have an in-game update ready for July. However, we also, sometimes reality comes knocking on our door, right? When we're all working away on making heists and all of this fun stuff. And the reality is that people have lives, The dev team have families, they've got kids. But according to Swedish law, people are legally allowed to take vacations during the summer, and we try to focus on doing crimes digitally, not in the real world. And of course, we would have loved to have a July update, but with everything going on, with the stuff that we are cooking, the best course of action for us was to make sure that we got a great August update and a September update. So while it's unfortunate, I would have loved to see something. Absolutely, of course. I totally hear the Payday community on that. At the same time, looking at it from a different way, it's also a luxury issue for us. The community wants more. That's amazing. 6 months ago, we were not in this position with Payday 3.
So now the question was posed, why are there no updates in July? Payday 3 has lately been very quick on patches and updates frequently, which is great. And I will be honest, due to how things have been handled previously, nothing that I expected from the dev team, so I am positively surprised by that. However, the reason this question is so good is because he begins to explain further why it is so hard to get so much done in general. It is in fact true. Laws in Sweden require that company cannot deny vacation requests in the summer months. It can move the vacation and plan so that it works out, but it has to be accepted at some point during the summer. So there's not much to do there, and so I think we can forgive the no July update in all fairness. But this kind of relates to a different point that he makes later.
Okay, so next one then comes from Bile, my beloved, who asks, where is the momentum? I know there's been a lot to deal with, but the update rate has been so slow. Payday 2 at launch had much more frequent updates, but Payday 3 feels as though the game is maintained by a skeleton crew rather than an entire studio.
Yeah. When we worked on Payday 2 and launched Payday 2, the entire team worked overtime all the time. A dozen of us, because the team was 30 people, 40 people at the time, around 10-15 of us developers slept and lived in the studio for half a year. All right? That is not something you want to be the modus operandi, like the status quo situation. That's
Absolutely
not a healthy scenario. So they are world apart in that sense, because when you live and work in the same place, you live and breathe that. So we worked tirelessly day in and day out. So that is one of the reasons why you saw such an incredible output at the time with Payday 2 content, because we were essentially working ourselves out. And I don't want that for my teammates. I don't want the developer culture to be like that. But with Payday 3, because every case is different, right? With Payday 3, we all remember how launch went. Straight away, we went to work preparing for Operation Medic Bag, and then we started to implement those features. So our entire year one got shifted around, which also affected the output that we had initially intended for. Can we reach the same heights of output with Payday 3? Yes, but it has to be under the right circumstances, not trying to overwork your team and things like this. Yeah, so it is the human factor. But Payday 2 could only happen as it did because a lot of the developers lived at the studio. There is no other way to say that.
Yeah, crunch culture, which we obviously don't want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Here he explains why it has been so slow with updates in the beginning. However, the point that made most sense to me was he addressed the planning of patches and updates and so on. They had to remake an entire plan to fit Payday 3 community requests. For example, they probably had a plan to begin with that had a lot of new content that was going to be released consistently, but due to the game flopping so hard, they had to collect new data and make an entirely new plan from scratch. So this might sound like a quick fix, but I think that this had to be one of the harder things to get right. They first have to read, watch, and observe the entire community's opinions and rank them from most important to least important, like fixing the server issues to fixing some of the animations. In all fairness, since I gave up reporting on Payday 3 updates a while ago, I realized that I missed a lot of really good progress. And the game now seems to be in a lot better shape. In fact, I would argue that even it starts to feel like a Payday game again. Of course, a lot of the game is missing, like heists and reliability, but with the XP system now fixed, the new content being added and fresh new animations, my hopes skyrocketed for Payday 3. I also want to add that without Mr. Listo here, the game would have been abandoned by everyone a long time ago. This company has to compensate this man well. It is well deserved on his part.
Okay then, Pyro Video has much more of a blunt question for you. They want to know, does Almir really think the game is going to survive the next 5 years or even next 2 with the current way and sentiment the community has regarding feedback and feelings towards the game?
Payday 3 will live on for years as long as we have the community support. That's why I made the call to action last week to the Payday community. That's why we as a team have been working on Operation Medic Bag, essentially setting ourselves up for success rather than for failure for the coming months and years. So that's why things have been taking time, but I really do believe something happened with Payday 3, didn't it, over the past months? I know you, Troy, you weren't playing for a time, and then you came back into the game, and especially with Boys in Blue, it just feels as you're playing that there's something that has improved. It's difficult to say exactly what it was, but it's just like the moment-to-moment action in Payday 3 has become better, and I'm sure it's just gonna continue going like that with the upcoming updates that we do.
Eric goes on to explain that Payday 3 will survive for as long as the community stays alive. And with regards to what he explained earlier, he has described what that means. Leaving comments on threads, playing the game, and or just reading Payday 3 Reddit will keep the game alive, and I think that is great news. He also made the point that the game has been changed for the better, and he says that it's clearly been felt in the game and that something has just improved, and I absolutely agree on this. It has changed a lot and feels a lot better. It now feels like Payday 3 is a part of a Payday franchise, unlike before when it felt like it was an entirely different entity from the other games of the same lineage. So these are great news, and I'm glad to hear this, and my hype for Payday 3 has been revived to the point where you can expect, much like the Syntax Error DLC, I will be making a Boys in Blue DLC review very soon. And as a side note, he knows that releasing paid content at this point isn't doing the game any good. However, with the gold and silver bundles, they are legally bound to release special DLC content for the people who bought those editions. So there's not much to say there. However, on the side there have been released plenty of regular updates that keep improving the game regardless if you've paid for any bundles or just the base game. So I'm proud to announce that. Now this interview is over an hour and I cannot get all of this into this video, but I really recommend checking out the entire interview over at Red Archer Live because it really fills in a lot of the gaps, and if you care about what the community leader thinks in detail, this is a great interview to get a feeling what that means. Now I personally want to address something amazing about the Starbreeze Nebula service. I recently watched this interview and got the Payday 3 itch. I wanted to jump back in and see what this game has to offer now, but I did not want to download it on my computer since I keep a lot of work related things on the computer, such as games I prepare for review and stuff. I have an Xbox for casual gaming, so I downloaded Payday 3 there, and let me tell you boys, cross progression works. And it is great. If I get tired of playing on the PC, I can literally turn off the PC, jump on the Xbox and keep playing the same character and level him up there, as well as buy new items. I really appreciate when games have this feature. And it is very rare these days, but Payday 3 hit the nail on the head with this one. So great on them. Now as stated earlier, with this news out, I will be making more Payday 3 content with my revived interest for this project. And I also feel a little sad that I backed away from this project since it means a lot to me. I was way too quick to push it away, and the entire idea of Payday has always been the community. Either way, thanks for watching. Tune in for more game reviews and stuff later. My channel is already riddled with plenty of game reviews, and I have plans for more in the future. So this channel is not exclusively Payday content for those tuning in. So go inside and check out what this channel has to offer, and if you like, feel free to stick around.